Welcome to What's Working, everyone. I'm Cam Marston. Grateful to have you join us this week for yet another episode. Well, we got a return guest this week. His name is Kyle Sweetser. He's running to fill the seat that will be vacated when Tommy Tuberville leaves the Senate to run for governor of Alabama. He's in the primaries. The primaries are upcoming. He's got a competitor there, and if he gets through that primary, he's got a very tough road with the Republicans on the other side of the ticket to try to win that Senate seat. I was at an event that he hosted a couple of weeks ago, but he's a good speaker. Kyle, you're a good speaker. You had everybody really, really hanging on with you. It's good stuff. He, like me, and I'll let him have the microphone in a moment, he, like me, identified as a Republican for the longest time, and then looked around not too long ago and said, the value systems that the Republicans used to cherish and used to champion are gone. I can't find a comfortable home in this party anymore. What else is there? Kyle is now identified as a Democrat, and we're going to talk to him about his transition, his platform, his views, hopes and goals, as well as the windshield time this man spends covering the state from Southwest Alabama, trying to get all of it. Kyle, once again, second time, thank you for your time, my friend. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Cam. It's great to be here again, and I hope that we can take the folks of Alabama can take a lot out of this.
Well, let's talk about, how about giving everybody an update right now? What are you doing? How does it look? What are your days filled with? Give us a sense of what your schedule is, because I think it's amazing.
So when I'm not on the phones, I am frying the tires off my truck.
I've not heard that expression before. I like it. So you're frying the tires off your truck, going all over.
That's correct. Going up and down the state. A lot of folks don't know, but we have there's a 6-hour drive in Alabama. It does exist. So I'm familiar with it, especially with a little bit of traffic.
Yeah. My suspicion is you're spending a lot of time in Birmingham right now because there's so many people there. They're a very important block of voters, for lack of a better term. Are you spending a lot of time in the northern part of the state right now?
Well, I'm going to Birmingham. I'm going north of Birmingham. I'm doing everything I can up in that direction, every event that I can get to, any opportunity really to speak to the folks in Birmingham, because we need about half of what we need to win the primary is out of Birmingham as far as the number goes.
So you're there a lot. Tell me about where you're finding opportunities to get your message out. Are there people that are welcoming you?
Absolutely. So on the Democratic side, there's been many events. There's been Democratic clubs that have been very welcoming. I think a lot of folks, they're tired of losing here in the state of Alabama, and they're looking for something that can really win and change things here in the state.
Yeah. What are the questions you're getting? There are people out there that I suspect that identify like you and I have. Was this in the past, now this today, because the values and the ethics of this party just don't capture me anymore. What are their questions for you? What are you hearing from the Alabamians out there? What's important?
Well, people are concerned about health care, whether or not, we'll support robust health care expansion in the state. And I do support expanding Medicaid in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
We had the money on the table in the past, and the folks on the state level just pushed it away. So that's a concern of mine. You look at Alabama and the life expectancy in Alabama, which in some cases we die 10 years quicker than some other states, and we need to do something about that. That's a major concern. I get asked a whole lot about the environment and clean water issues, which is a part of our platform, and that's one of the reasons why it's a part of our platform. So folks are really concerned about health. They're concerned about the environment. They're also concerned about the economy and affordability.
Yeah.
So these prices are just outrageous. What we're going to do to rein that in, and what we're going to do to rein in this executive branch that seems to have almost limitless power.
They do seem to have almost limitless power, and I would agree with you that the current senators that from the state of Alabama have abdicated their role of responsible checks and balances on the executive office. They're a rubber stamp on that. Do you feel are there people out there that are concerned with that, or is that just people like you and me who are watching that, and the true Republicans out there think it's a wonderful thing? What's your take on that?
No, most folks think that this is just out of control. The folks that are engaged right now, and the folks that aren't engaged are folks that we can still talk to. Most people would agree what the president's doing right now, way too much power. And if somebody, even if you like everything that he's doing, if the opposition were to get in, the polar opposite of Trump, politically, they wouldn't want that person to have that much power, whether you're an independent, a Republican, or a Democrat. The executive office is just completely out of control, and we see with this unitary executive the damage that it can do. You look at the current administration's actions when it comes to Iran and going in kind of half-cocked without briefing the American people. So, we need, the American people deserve the truth. The American people are really being just ignored. Our voices almost don't count. So in order to really bring back our democratic values, which many Republicans actually share, we need to put folks in Washington, D.C. that are dedicated to reining in the executive office, that will stand up to the president, no matter who it is, no matter what party, and stand up for their constituents in their states, like here in Alabama.
Do you feel like there are people out there that, the No Kings protest was last weekend as we're recording this, that really want a king, that look at this and say, it's fine with me that he's running crazy over the government. And I can't help but wonder if there are people out there that say, having somebody with unlimited authority is a good thing. And I don't get it. It makes me wonder about people. But the fact that there's not a larger cry than what I hear right now makes me wonder if there are people that are just okay with it. It also makes me wonder that there are people out there, and perhaps we can get into this. I am, they say to themselves, a Republican. I always have been. My mama, my daddy, and my grandmama and granddaddy always been a Republican. So I am too. Even if I don't care for what they're doing, that's who I am. Their identity is so wed to this that they can't break away. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So the way I felt was betrayed by the Republican Party. And I think folks have a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that the government that they love, that they trust, the American government has betrayed them through the Republican Party, the folks in power. And folks are really, and there's so many people that are just riding in cruise control, and they haven't quite come to the realization of what's happening. The power of the people is through the legislative branch, really. And our real representation, I believe, is through the legislative branch. And folks, they have just been misled to the degree that we have people that, just haven't come to that realization that the president is violating the Constitution. He's breaking the law. He's doing things that are really harming places like Alabama. Yeah. Harming the voters here. You look at tariffs, and what they've done with tariffs is, to me, is atrocious. They've tricked people into thinking these tariffs are paid by mostly other countries, and they're not. They're paid by Americans. That's who pay the tariffs. They are a tax. Period. They are a tax, period. Yeah. But I think that highlights, tariffs highlight the severity of where we're at, with people not quite understanding that they're being lied to by the people that they love and trust. Yeah. So the reaction to that, I think, is going to be severe. It's going to happen at some point, but it's going to be severe, and I believe that's going to happen in 2026.
Is it going to happen in the state of Alabama to the, let's face it, which would be an extraordinary outcome of electing a Democrat to the Senate?
Well, if you look to history and you look to see when Jimmy Carter One, whether you like them, don't like them, we had some similar situations. We had Iran in the fuel crisis of the 1970s, and now we're approaching another fuel crisis. Very recently, this week, the European Union is now asking the folks, the countries there, the individuals in those countries to stay at home and work if they can because the impending fuel crisis. Australia declared an emergency days ago, and they have over 500 gas stations that are completely out of fuel. So we're going to see, and we're already seeing, global fuel shortages due to the Unitary Executive Office acting without briefing the American people, without going through Congress illegally, and in a way that was so half-cocked, we didn't even have the means to defend oil infrastructure across the Middle East. So now we are here.
Yeah. I remember hearing for years that the executive office, and this is backwards, this is years back, really has no influence over fuel prices. This time is absolutely, that is true. The executive office is directly responsible for the fuel prices that we're experiencing right now. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whenever this president chose to take military action, and right or wrong, as I said, I don't think the American people quite really know what's going on, which is a problem in itself. But you look at how we did that, and we did that with a go-it-alone approach, sort of the anti-NATO approach. If you look back to George Bush, whether you like him or dislike him, George Bush at least built a coalition in advance. Instead, we had this president that acted without Congress and was clearly not prepared, and Americans have died because of it.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's absolute truth. Well, let's talk a little bit about your plans for the state of Alabama. This is it's my home, your home. What would you like to see for us? You mentioned some healthcare issues. You mentioned longevity issues. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I really want to expand healthcare in a way that is beneficial to the people of Alabama, but is also responsible. So that's going to take a lot of debate. I know that folks throw out lofty promises, but this is going to be something that we have to work through on the national level. But I can tell you one thing: if there's a pie and we're offered a piece of a pie, I'm going to take it for Alabama. I'm going to push it for Alabama. You look at what happened with Medicaid expansion in the past, and we just left the money on the table, billions of dollars.
It was a pride thing, wasn't it?
I believe so. Maybe a party thing.
Yeah.
And we've got to get away from that. We've got to start sending people to Washington, D.C. that actually care about the states they come from and the people that live there. And I can tell you, politicians that turn down $2 billion to expand healthcare in the state of Alabama, they don't care about you.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. What was their response to turning it down? What was their justification?
Nothing probably that makes any sense.
Yeah. I had pride and party, something like that, or anti whomever offered it, or something like that. It's a shame. So tell me, if are there regional issues you're hearing? For example, Huntsville is just exploding. So many jobs coming there, a lot of technology jobs, a lot of defense jobs. Mobile is on the we've said this for decades now, but on the cusp of great growth. Montgomery, of course, still being the center of the state government. Are you familiar with any regional differences that you're hearing across the state of Alabama that have caught your attention?
Infrastructure. Whether it's wastewater issues and expanding there, or roads and growth in Huntsville with traffic.
Yeah.
In the I-10 bridge, which appears to never materialize. We've got to do better.
Yeah.
So one of the things, though, that I want to do, talking about infrastructure and talking about the expansion of our state and growth and bringing in economic opportunity. If y'all aren't aware, we're set to have a population boom here in the South, and we need to expand the grid. And one of the things that we've struggled with in the state of Alabama since I have lived here since I was born, is investing in smart futuristic, I guess you could say, infrastructure, investing in smart energy policy. And with Alabama and our expansion, I believe moving forward, we have got to get away from our old ways of the past. We've got to move in the direction of energy independence. And that also is going to largely include clean energy. We need to be bringing in nuclear power into our state, which the north of the state, I think they just signed some kind of deal. I'll have to check into it to expand nuclear up in the north part of our state. But we also need to look at wind and solar and just think about it like this. I know there's always been this big push for coal. We can't get away from coal, or they say, but we have countries like China that are just completely leaving us in the dust, while our rivers, talking about health and human safety and life expectancy here in the state of Alabama, are so polluted that dozens of these rivers you can't even eat the fish out of, and a lot of it has to do with the fact we have mercury in the water, and that can come from coal ash ponds. And while I realize that, we can't just get rid of all of our current energy infrastructure, when we expand, we have to look toward the future. We can't continue to look at our feet and come up with excuses on this. Alabama has this opportunity through growth, through expected growth here, to build the economy of the future and to be proud of it, and to leave Alabama a much better place than we were born into it. In the way I believe the best way to do that is to foster this new economic growth through new technology, and to really expand our grid as we do it in a very smart and efficient way.
Who is your model on this? Is it Georgia? Is it Florida? Is it somebody out west? Who has the model that you want to follow for this?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I think every state is different. And so I think that this is going to take a whole lot of discussion. So we talk about solar, for instance. If we lived in Nevada and we had open desert, solar might be a good option, but we don't. And I'm not completely against solar, but you put it on your roof, right? And finding ways to make sure that the folks across the state of Alabama have a fair shot of being a part of the future. So when I built my house back in 2021, from working so many different hurricanes, I got to experience that when infrastructure is destroyed, it doesn't matter if you have gasoline, solar panels, or whatnot, because the gas stations, the pumps don't work because there's no electricity. Mm-hmm. So thinking about that, I said, you know what? Let me see about getting a price on investing in solar for my house to have some way to tie into the grid and get some money back, and then also to have that battery backup system so I could use that in case of a hurricane. And come to find out, the companies that are legitimate in this, they won't even quote jobs in Alabama because Alabama has backward policy that keeps us from moving forward. And it's not just in that area, it's across the board. I want to make sure that Alabama is able to have the debate and the discussion that it deserves. Because if you talk to so many people, especially what's going on right now within the state on the state level, about energy prices and how we were promised pretty much that, if we stay the same course and we have the same type of energy source, we're going to have lower costs. And it turns out we end up with the same high costs as everybody else. And now we have probably an abundance of pollution that we could have done a little better on.
How does a senator in Washington, D.C. address that? Is that all internal to the state, or is that something that you could potentially have influence over?
Absolutely. So I could help foster credits and different projects to bring into the states to make sure that we have the ability really to do so. So we need to make it easier to build clean energy here in the state of Alabama. We need to make the permitting process easier. We also need to make sure that if there is a piece of the pie that we can get for these projects that we get it instead of rejecting it.
Isn't a current or modern, or at least current energy grid a very great attractant to businesses to know that, hey, if we move to Southwest Alabama, there is the infrastructure we need to power our organization, power our facilities?
Absolutely. Roads, bridges, railways, and energy infrastructure, especially these days with AI and the data centers, which are going to also increase demand for energy.
Yeah, I've learned a little bit about those data centers. I spoke to the CEO of Georgia Power. She told me how much these things consume, and it was amazing. I forget the metaphor that she used, but it was an extraordinary amount. And I don't know what to think about that. I love my AI. I think it's fantastic. It helps me every day do things better and faster. At the same time, so I love it. I don't want to get rid of it. At the same time, I'm concerned about the power usage and the water usage at a lot of these data centers. So I want the features of it. I'm worried about the costs of it. And it's a difficult middle ground to stand in. How do we figure out a way to make this remarkable technology available to all of us so quickly and cheaply and inexpensively? And do we just look away at not taxation is not the right word, but the environmental impact that these extraordinary data centers generate? You got any thoughts on that?
Absolutely, and folks have been having this debate openly, and it's been a good debate because you look at some of the solutions that have been coming out of this. Folks are saying and it's a really great idea, if these data centers come in and they drive up energy cost because of the amount of power they consume, well, there should be, since they're affecting other people, there should be some requirement that they maybe possibly help expand the grid, be a part of that, sort of give back to the community there. And in doing so, do it in a clean energy kind of way to help us move towards the future, or be a part of that at least.
Yeah. So, Kyle, there got to be people out there that you're bumping into that are kind of anti-progress. In fact, I heard it this way not long ago: keep it small and own it all. If I can keep the state of Alabama within my arms, I can own it all, versus progress, which is I don't want to keep it all. I want to spread out the wealth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And a lot of those folks play into reactionary politics. You know, this where you have to be against something just because it may be coming through from the other political side or being pushed at a time when there's an administration that you don't like. But when it comes to progress, we have to make sure that we continue to move forward. And in the state of Alabama, being 49th in income and last place in so many areas, it's time that we start to really build up our state. We got to do it in a smart way. We have to be very thoughtful about it, but the time for keeping everything out and everybody out that you might look different than you or might sound a little different than you is over. The people here in our state are hurting, starving, and in a way from not having that economic opportunity.
Tell me a little bit about your campaign. How is it organized? What is you don't want to reveal all your cards, but tell me how you've plan to do this. You live in Southwest Alabama, and if I'm not mistaken from our last conversation, you live on the western edge of Southwest Alabama. Yet the bulk of the voters that you need to get through for primary are in the Birmingham area. There are others out there as well. Tell me about your campaign. How are you managing this? Who are your teammates, and what's going on?
So I just have volunteers. I've got a couple paid folks on the staff, but mostly it's folks that volunteer to help me and run across the state. Anytime that I can make something happen, I make it happen. I think the last time that we had this podcast, I maybe got 2 hours of sleep. I was up in the northern part of the state.
I do remember that. Yeah, now that you say that. Yeah.
So the one of the major disadvantages to running statewide as a Democrat in the state of Alabama is that we don't have the resources that Republicans have. And so I've got to put a lot more time in and do a lot more things and wear many more hats as the folks on my team too. So, you know, what we need here in the state, we need a motivated Democratic base in 2026. We need folks that you know, they're not happy with the Republican Party. That's number two. That might just not even vote for anybody, which we're going to see. And then the third thing that we need is we need a couple 100,000 crossover voters, and that's really, you know, what I'm anxious to really get started on. We've started on quite a bit, and really built our platform from the middle to try to win some folks over. Folks that aren't happy, they might be Republicans, but they're just not happy with the current administration, and they're not happy with the runaway executive office that is burning our country to the ground while the world is on fire too. So.
Yeah. Are you able to convince these crossover voters to say, hey, just give this some thought? Because my expectation is, and we referenced this a little bit earlier, is it kind of makes them feel dirty to have to vote Democrat after being born and raised Republican, just like it would a Democrat, born and raised Democrat, would feel dirty to vote Republican. What is your message to these potential crossovers?
Well, we're not going to agree on everything, and no one should agree on everything. But the platform that I put forward is a platform that you know, going across the state and talking to folks. Is something that there's a lot of common ground on both the left and the right, and to focus really on the issues and not ideology.
Yeah.
And that's really the big thing, to focus on solving issues and talking about issues and elevating these issues instead of the ideology arguments that we've had over the years on some social issues.
Do they understand, the people, the crossover voters across the state, potential crossover voters, they understand that how close the Senate is to having enough senators to bring this to a stop? That it's just where a handful of people changes everything. A handful of people brings this runaway freight train of the executive office to a stop, and of Democrats. It doesn't have to be an extraordinary swing into the favor of the Democratic Party, but just a handful would do so much benefit to reining in the executive office. Do they get that?
Well, I think they're starting to realize it. And the problem that I've faced from the beginning, when Republicans do realize they've been betrayed, they feel almost hopeless.
Mm.
And so being someone that used to be a Republican in the background that I have has been helpful to help elevate these folks and say, hey, you know what? It's okay to vote for a Democrat. It's okay to say you're a Democrat, even if you don't agree with 100% of the Democratic platform. You don't have to agree with 80% of it. Right now, I would say most Republicans, if they walked away from the tribalism, turned off some of the stuff they were looking at for just a little bit, would realize that they are closer to the Democratic Party, at least the moderate wing of the Democratic Party, than they are to MAGA Republicans.
Yeah,
it's a case of Ronald Reagan said it. He said it on the opposing end. I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way, at least I feel right now. It sounds like it's the way you feel. I had a conversion moment. It was a conversion process where I finally said, this does not reflect me. Tell me about yours. When did you finally have to swallow hard and say, I'm not that person anymore, or I am still the person I was, but I don't see my values in this group anymore. I don't see my hopes for our nation in this group anymore. They've changed. And I'm not going to change. I'm not going to sell my soul. Tell me about your story. When was your conversion moment?
So a series of things kind of snapped me out of it, but January 6th was huge for me.
Yeah, and it's remarkable. It's remarkable that we've glossed over that as a nation like we have.
Yeah, but after that, I really started digging into the issues. And one of the things that alarmed me most was the foreign policy shift of the Republican Party through Donald Trump. It absolutely terrified me. Looking at some of the things that he said in the past and his positions, and with the knowledge from looking at it that, hey, if this guy gets in again, we're going to be where we are right now.
Yeah. But if he wins, we end up there, and we're there now.
Right.
Yeah. It seems to happen with these people that go to Washington. Let me expand this. It's powerful up there. And I act like I know. I don't have firsthand experience. But you hear people say things about who they are and what they stand for and what's important to them and their constituents and their morals and their values and their integrity. And they go to Washington and they change. They get washed somehow and they change. There's got to be a powerful culture up there that takes these people who have dug into their positions and makes them undig. And pivot and accept and say things that they never would have before. Have you experienced that? Have you noticed that as well? And what is your ability to not get taken? I mean, these people go up there, they promise one thing, they don't act the way they've promised they'd behave. They get out of D.C., and many times they stay up there as a quote-unquote consultant to stay near the money that is washing up there, that's moving around. Thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it are this. I'm a lifelong Alabama guy. I'm pretty hard-headed, as it turns out, and I have had a push to be socially left in statements, and I've shut it down.
Oh, interesting. Tell me about that.
So there were a lot of folks that really wanted me to stay lockstep with the platform, with the Democratic platform, in a way that is sort of what Republicans label the Democratic Party as a negative thing in the state of Alabama, in a way from a moderate position on some of these things. So the position that I took is that biological men shouldn't compete in women's sports, and that caused quite the fallout. But when you really get down to it and you talk to folks, that's what most people believe in Alabama. That's like an 80-20 issue. And since this issue has been pushed, there's a poll. I'd have to check to see who it was. But the messaging on this has been so bad on the Democratic side that it's moved, I think, like 10 points.
Wow.
In a poll over poll, year over year, the only poll that I know of that was done. So, it's just not what especially people in Alabama, they're hyper fixated on sports. And personally, I've played just briefly college football, and so I was subject to tests for PEDs, and I think you'll find
PEDs,
performance enhancing drugs.
Got it. Yep.
As of most people are in these sports at a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll find that most people, or almost all, I haven't met anyone that's been subject to this. Agrees with the position that biological men should compete in women's sports. And, I hate that this has become even an issue, right? But not being able to answer the question directly continues to make it an issue.
Yeah.
So
the question that I thank you for that little story, that little vignette there. But the question was the power of D.C. to change people. You've been pushed towards that change locally. Is there a litmus test you'll put yourself through in D.C. to say, hey, I need to make sure I'm the same Kyle that I was during the campaign, that I was the same Kyle that I was leading up to the election? Now here I am in Washington, D.C. I'm walking to and from the Capitol building on a regular basis. I've got staffers. I got sycophants. I got people taking me to dinner all the time. There's money out there that I can agree to accept in order to give to other people and still take some of it myself through some suspicious means. I have a very dark opinion of this, as you can tell. What's your litmus test? I mean, do you have what is the odds that your spouse is going to slap your face someday and say, hey, that's not you? That's not who I married. That's not the guy I followed on the campaign. That's not the guy that I helped get the name out.
Well,
behave.
You just led right into what my answer. For one, my wife would probably strangle me in my sleep.
Yeah, I like her.
Yep. And that's important to me. You know, she's actually one of the reasons why I'm doing this as well. Seeing how our society's changed and hearing she's half Thai and hearing over the years this increase of xenophobia, you know, towards folks that look a little different has been one of the things that really got me into this fight, among many others. But yeah, having family that grounds me. I've got two wonderful kids as well. Making sure I'm true to myself, making sure I'm true to the state of Alabama. And like I said, I'm really hard-headed. My principles and values haven't changed. As I said before, you know, the Republican Party left me as it left many other folks. And we're going to find a way to get all these folks together, and we're going to fight back against this out-of-control, authoritarian, executive overreach.
There's a wonderful conversation out there that I see in a lot of long-form articles right now that our time since Donald Trump came to power has shown us ourselves in a way that has always been there. This is who we are. We've glossed it over, but this is who we have been for a long time. And with this man, the true face of the nation has come forward. What do you think about that?
Donald Trump, well, you've got a point there. I think that if you pay attention, you have to confront the morality of what's going on right now, whether it's ICE or you know, some of these foreign policy decisions or some of the statements that the president says or when he's making fun of folks that are disabled. You know, it's just that's a good point. It's a point, though, that we have to get people engaged. And it can be a little uncomfortable. I've dealt with trolls over over a few years, and you get some pretty scary feedback. But a lot of these folks, they're you know, they hide behind fake profiles, aliases. Who knows who they really are? So you have a point. People, I think though, it could be not fair to say that just because people still support Trump, that's who they are. So I want to be careful about that. I think that most people are really dialed in to their family and their immediate community. So we really have to get it out in front of them. And the more exposure that we're able to get on the truth about what's happening with Donald Trump, what's happening with this administration and the folks really that are driving the MAGA movement, you're going to see so many people just peel off. One of the things that I've dealt with over the campaign, I've had people to tell me over and over again to stop criticizing Donald Trump. While you don't want to make every single comment about Donald Trump, it's so important that we call out, and it's American to call out the president on some of the things that he's doing, all the lies day after day and failed policy. It's so important that we have leadership, that we have folks in politics in the state of Alabama, in deep red states, that are brave enough to stand up and do the right thing and speak out against this administration.
Yeah, and they're you hear little of it from certain corners that you wish that would articulate something. I think there's something, and I don't know exactly how to put my finger on that, but you have people out there who are wonderful, good people, love their mother and go to church and everything you'd want. But they see something revolting coming out of national politics, something that absolutely is against their morals, against their character, and they see it and they turn away. Rather than see it and say, that's unacceptable, I have a responsibility to seek change. I have a responsibility to make sure that's fixed. That's changed. We are, as a society, and David Brooks has written about this a number of times, we are seeing these things and these moments and instances that make us sick to our stomach and say, gosh, That's awful that someone's doing that. It's awful that someone has said that. It's awful that these people are being treated this way. But I'm okay. I'm in my house. My skin color is correct. I don't have to worry about this. What is your reaction to that? That we have become somewhat of a passive society. That instead of reacting to these revolting actions we're seeing out of Washington, we turn the channel, or we say, it's not going to impact me, so I'm going to turn my head. Obviously, Kyle, you're not one, because you're doing what you're doing. You've thrown your hat in the ring. It's a remarkable reaction to something that you've said this is unacceptable. I'd like to think that I'm somewhat one of these people, because I'm asking you on the show. I want your platform to get out. I'm showing up at your events. This is unacceptable. We've got to do something. What is it about these people out there, and there are countless thousands of them, that are looking at what's going on, they're disgusted by it, and they're doing nothing?
You got me with that, but I will say this: people are going to move with the times. They're going to move when more folks wake up, and more people are going to wake up. More people are waking up every single day because they're personally affected, and from that point, your family that might have the father or the mother might be working 7 days a week, wide open, no time to really pay attention to politics, and is wondering, wow, the money that I did have it's not going as far. I'm not able to afford things as much anymore. I go to Walmart and the prices it's $100 for 4 items, and I go to the gas pump and it's $4.19 for a gallon of gas. That kind of stuff is going to wake folks up. And the more people that wake up, it's gonna make it easier and easier to convince those people, to inspire those people that there is a chance. But at the end of the day, we have to have more people that understand what's happening, stand up, and quickly stand up. It'll cause a chain reaction, and I know that chain reaction is already starting. Starts out small, and before you know it, we're gonna flip the whole state.
Wartime economy. You and I mentioned this prior to the mics going on. Is that something you can talk about?
Sure. So I read something this morning that came out where the administration is talking about moving us to a wartime economy in 2027. They're talking about increasing the defense spending on top by over $1 trillion. And that is a little alarming, especially with what's happening right now. You look at what's happening in the Middle East with the oil infrastructure that's been bombed. We've had over maybe a dozen countries now that have been bombed by Iran, with some help from Russia, at least for targeting. So we're in some scary times here, and unfortunately, it looks like our enemies know that our current administration is a circus, is a clown show.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it right now. It's a clown show. And do you think there's the feeling that if Trump were to leave office, it would all return? It would be back to the way it used to be? Or is this the new world? Is this the new normal?
Well, I think the world's never going to be the same. So after Trump's out of there, depending on what happens to the MAGA movement, whether it's able to hold itself up or not, I think we're going to see some major shifts politically, economically. The world's changing. You look at AI, you look at robotics, and what that might mean. I don't think anyone quite knows. Yeah. Paired with a geopolitical chaos that we're dealing with right now, that Donald Trump is in his MAGA isolationist at one point unleashed. I don't really know what I would call their foreign policy at this point, but except for a complete and utter disaster. You would let's project forward. Let's assume you win the primary, you win the election, you're in Washington, D.C., and all these little cliques that I understand exist there in the Senate, just like they do in the House, they're going to be leaning on you to do something.
is the moment you know you've arrived in Washington, and this is all hypothetical, this is all dreamy, is when you look at them and say, no. Is it what you're doing or what you're not doing when you're elected to the office in Washington that you say to yourself, this is why I'm here?
So, look, I've been pretty clear. A top priority for me is reigning in the executive office. So I plan day one, wide open, getting after it. And that is, one, I want to push and pass legislation that undoes a Supreme Court ruling that says the president is above the law.
Oh, man, that's music.
Which is absolutely insane that here in America, we've accepted the fact that the president, now apparently it's a fact, is above the law. And that goes back to No Kings. So No Kings catches a lot of flack from the right. But if you have a president that is above the law, that's not bound to the same rules as me and you, what does that make them? Yeah,
it's the king. They're the king. They're absolutely, immune from anything.
And beyond that, I really, want to defend the Constitution, but there's one thing that has to be done, that we have to get to, and we have to. I'm going to push for a constitutional amendment to rein in the pardoning power of the president.
That's a good one too. I like both these things, but both recent presidents have used this extraordinarily. The fact that all those January 6 people were pardoned was, one of those moments, like I said a little while ago, that was absolutely unacceptable. Somebody should do something, and we didn't. As a group, we didn't. We all threw our hands up, and the reporters talked about it, and there were columns and articles and everything, but most of us just sat at home and thought, killed some people, attacked the Capitol, they're all free now. It's absolutely undescribable. Anyway.
Yeah, and we've just had folks over the years, since I was in high school, since as early as I could remember, they talk about congressional reform, that talk about things like term limits and all that, which, most folks agree with. I think I agree with. And but I will say this, no one has talked about the executive office, at least in my circles or in my generation growing up. And because of that, we are now here.
Yeah. We're coming towards a close here. I want to make sure there's any other information you want to reveal, or not reveal, but discuss, that's unique to you, that'll help people understand who you are, what your platform is, help them want to support you. And so the mic's yours, and then I want you to tell me a story after this. You got anything else you want to leave out there before I ask you the last question?
Yeah. So I actually I went to Baker High School. And I played football. And when I was at Baker, we had the longest losing streak in the history of the state of Alabama. And I actually left another school and went there with part of that in mind, to try to, let's turn this around. There were a couple folks too, played park ball since I was 4 years old. So it was very tied in to folks that were good at football then. So
that
a few
park
of
ball
us,
people are savages.
Yeah.
I was never a park ball kid, but I came up against them from time to time, and I thought, that's a different creature. That's somebody that I'm not, that's not my genteel friends over here. Those people are savages. So the fact that you are part of that, I have great respect for that.
But thank you. So we all got over to Baker, and when we all played, we turned it around we won 4 games the first year that the few of us played at the same time. And one of the things, though, that I noticed, because all of us came from winning teams, coming from a winning team, going to a losing team, is that there was a culture of losing. And that culture of losing was no one expected to win. They didn't say they were going to win. They didn't even try to manifest it really in ways. And so with the Democratic Party in the state, in order to win, first you have to believe you can win. And you can bet here in 2026, this is a year the Democratic Party through a moderate platform.
You're a moderate platform
that tries to represent regular folks, or someone that's not a Republican can win the state of Alabama. But you got to believe it first. And so there's more and more folks that are waking up. They see what's happening. And because of that, they're believing it.
Yeah.
Day after day, more and more people believe that the Republican Party is going to lose this year.
Wow. Wouldn't that be amazing? That would be headline news, and it would deserve it for something like that. And so when you encounter, well, we've talked about that a little bit, but you've got to bump up into people that have always been Republicans. And I'm wondering if there's a message that you have a tried and true angle that you go towards them and say, hey, how about this? How about this? How about this? Is there a script that you use on the lifelong Republicans to get them to consider something else?
It depends on what they ask me or what they say. Pretty much just use my background as somebody that is from Alabama and has talked to different types of folks across communities. And so it just depends. Some people are concerned about foreign policy.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can easily point their concern that maybe Democrats are too soft or pushovers or on foreign policy. And one, you look at what's happening right now. I don't know if we could do any worse, but talking about having sane foreign policy to those folks and how Donald Trump has basically abandoned Ronald Reagan's legacy when it comes to really in just this disgusting kind of way, while using peace through strength and doing absolutely insane things, like pushing away NATO, which to me is a big peace through strength thing. Pushing away NATO and launching a war in Iran without building a coalition or without their help. So kind of using history, depending on who you're talking to when it comes to foreign policy, to say, hey, we're making a mistake. Look at history. Look at America first, back in the 1930s, and we went into World War II after that. We put steel tariffs on Japan, and shortly after Pearl Harbor was bombed. And, looking at some of the historical, it's sad. I laugh, but it's absolutely, it's just mind boggling what is happening right now and how we are repeating history. Scary. It is. So it depends on who I'm talking to, though, really.
When you brush up against people who have the attitude of Trump can do no wrong, that he's a chess player. I hear this expression. Trump's a chess player. We're all playing checkers. Trump's playing chess. What is your reaction to that? For those of you who can't see, the man is holding back a laugh.
Well, in that, look, it's a betrayal thing. So I think people, in a way, they love, the president of the United States, and they feel like there's always a plan. There's not a plan. There's not a plan.
If there's a plan, somebody smarter than us would have articulated it to us by now.
Right. And so just breaking that down to them, you really have to get specific, though, with folks, which is kind of hard to do running a statewide campaign, but ask him what he's playing chess. Which part is 5D chess or 4D chess, as they call it. And it's pretty easy to break down and show people that he's just very inconsistent, and some of the stuff doesn't make any sense at all. What I've noticed is that people cling to, depending on the type of media that they get, usually it's through social media and what they're fed through an algorithm.
Sure.
They only get a piece of it.
Yeah.
So they see that he said one thing, but then the next day he doesn't say another thing. Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is the No New Wars thing, which no president should ever guarantee. That's, to me, that's just a blatant lie. You can't guarantee that as a president, for one. But for him to say that, and then the actions that we've taken is not, I mean, it's clearly not a No New Wars policy.
Do you believe the war in Iran was started to avoid the Epstein files?
No.
No, you don't.
No, I don't believe that. I think there are serious security concerns With Iran, you look at, you hear a lot about nuclear programs, but you look at how many missiles they had.
Yeah.
And they're still firing them. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're able to hit, all this infrastructure, and they're willing to hit, a dozen countries that aren't the United States, or they're not just the United States and Israel, and try to shut down the entire global economy. And then you also look at their military industrial complex, how they were building weapons that were terrorizing Ukrainians, and working very closely with Russia to develop these drones that they have been bombing, U.S. assets with and our allies. So, no, we still don't know the truth, really. They haven't done a good job of telling us what is going on. There is coordination with Russia, which is also pretty scary. When you think about that, that's pretty scary to strike U.S. forces. So my biggest concern right now was not having that debate, not putting the truth out there for the American people, and really how this administration went about it without building any sort of coalition. Very reckless, pushed NATO away in ways, and we spoke about it earlier, but the leader of the UK, Starmer, he announced the other day that he was it was the end of the special relationship between us and them. So that's we are in dire times right now.
Yeah, we've lost a best friend through something we've done. All right, last question. Give me you're on the road a lot. You're meeting with voters across the state. You're giving speeches, and you gave one a couple weeks ago that I heard that was really, really good. Give me a story about a moment that you're out there on the road. You're looking in the eyeballs of one person, of a group of people, if you're giving a speech, and you have one of these holy cow moments. Oh my gosh, I'm really doing this. There are people that are coming to listen to me, to pay attention to me, to think that I can solve a big, big problem. Give me a holy cow moment from your travels and your presentations and your conversations where you realized, dang, this is legit. I'm legit. I'm into this now.
Well, it's not about me. And I'll say this, it's sort of in the reverse, one of those moments, the impact of trying to speak for folks that haven't been able to be represented or haven't had anyone stand up to them because it might not quite be what's being pushed in the media or popular in the media. I had someone that commented on a Facebook post. I went to go speak in Blount County, and I put a post out. And a couple hours before that speaking event, I had a woman leave a comment, ask if she could come. And of course, I told her she could come. So she showed up with her family, with her young kids, and someone else, a friend of hers. And I went and I spoke. Everyone that was there that was supposed to speak spoke, and she came up in the end. She said, "Can I speak?" And she delivered the speech that was amazing. She was tears were in her eyes, and she talked about how she was an undocumented immigrant for 20 some odd years, and how what's happening right now. There's her family is terrified. Her children. She's a U.S. citizen now. How the immigration system is broken, and how there are people that were in her community that were snatched up, and now she's heard that these folks are in these rooms with a toilet, no privacy, 30 people in a room, and not separated by male or female, with no privacy in a toilet. And she said that she was going to work, across the community of folks that were U.S. citizens in that Hispanic community in Blount County to try to register as many people to vote as possible, And she was inspired to come that someone was speaking up about the current immigration policy, which I've talked about before, which is not a common sense immigration policy. And it's not moral. It's not, in some ways, it's not constitutional. And it's driving up the national debt while hurting our economy at the same time. But there's, like I said, immoral, there's a human aspect to it. And to see someone that is inspired by your willingness to fight for them, to come up as someone that's Hispanic with a bit of an accent, and to have that courage.
Yeah. Huge courage in that environment. Yeah. And she looked at you and said, take care of me. I need you to once you're there, I need you to take care of me and help me out.
Yeah, absolutely. She was fired up.
Yeah.
Fired up. So it's
hard not to be energized by that person. That her energy certainly galvanized you.
Yep. And to see U.S. citizens, she was a U.S. citizen. She's a U.S. citizen at this point, to feel that way.
Yeah.
To feel like everyone is out to get them. The system is out to get them.
Yeah.
And to be with their family and to leave their home, to come to a speaking event, and still have that fear at the same time.
How can people find out more about you, Kyle?
Yep. So you can go to kyleforalabama.com, my website there. The best way, though, to find out about me is through social media. I put out a ton of videos.
You do.
And, a lot of my thoughts are on there and a lot of different issues I've addressed over this period at Kyle for Alabama across pretty much every social media platform, though I'm not on Truth Social.
I wonder why.
I thought about it just for fun, but yeah, I'll stay out of it for now.
I had a guy propose to me not long ago a business plan that included me becoming very active on Truth Social. I thought, I just can't do that. I need the business, but I just can't do that. Anyway, good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
I know you're what was your expression? Burning the tires up?
Burning the tires off.
Burning the tires off on the roads, okay. And I know you'll keep doing it. Good luck, and we'll get you back to give us an update. This is Cam Marston. We're closing out another episode of What's Working. I will say that after Kyle was on the first time on this show many months ago, I got a glitter bomb in the mail. It was anonymous, addressed to me at my home. I opened it, all this black glitter went out. It didn't explode, but it was loosely packed into that thing. And the damage could have been much worse. But there are people out there that don't like me talking this way. There are people out there that don't like Kyle being on my show. Tough. This is who we are, and this is the direction it's going to go. We're going to give everybody a voice if they want one, even if you don't agree with them. Anyway, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Another show coming, maybe next week.